That dial-up internet sound takes me back. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Cerberus. I am Payman Ascari. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Mr. Timothy Knight. Man, am I having a stroke? Mr. Timothy Knight, how's it going?
I don't want the stroke. You can have it. It's a good day. It's a good day. I got out of bed not dead.
You beat the odds. Andre, what about yourself?
Doing fine. I'm still writing, reading, trying to survive in chaos. It works. Try to be happy.
Torturing the rest of Canada with your long sentence structure.
Well, they don't read it anyway, so.
Lost in translation.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a joke. We were backstage. Tim, he told me, he's like, there's no punctuation marks in there. I'm like, that's impossible. I went through the whole quote. There was not one period.
Yeah. Well, then he's aspires to G.K. Chesterton, who could write an entire page as one sentence. The master of English grammar.
I think I dated a girl like that once.
Liberal white women.
And we just lost half our viewership.
2 people.
We're down to 1.
Down to 1. 7.5 billion was it you wanted, Andre?
Well, yes, but I will be a little bit more modest this week.
Okay. 3 people? 7.3.
The 3 of us.
7.3. And 2 of them are Payman's dogs.
They count, yeah.
They count.
All right.
So we're getting sluggish.
On to the show for this week. We are a little bit more than a little bit concerned about the escalation of the rhetoric in the political space, the brazenness of the left, the Liberal Party in Canada, the erosion of any form of civility in politics. And rather than me rambling on, we're going to start this episode in sort of a rapid fire round where I'm going to bring up a couple of examples on social media, and then the 3 of us are going to quickly comment, and we'll take it from there. So I'll put us here on the left. So the first one is from Sean Fraser. This is the one I'm going to queue up. Sean Fraser is the minister of who the hell knows what. They're just shuffling these people around. Who is Sean Fraser, the minister of immigration now?
He's the minister of say the most incendiary thing he can think
Justice.
of because it's the attention he wants. Exactly.
He's the minister of justice. I must be getting old because I remember it was Lametti, and then it was that weird foreign guy Varani, and now it's Sean Fraser.
And any MP will put there doesn't change nothing. There's no justice in Canada.
Like a carnival game, you just cycle these dolls in and out. All right, let me just read this for the audience in case people aren't watching, they're listening. This is Sean Fraser's, okay, let me read the original post. Dr. Christopher Wells, want to know what trans youth really want and need? Read our report, which is the most comprehensive research conducted in Alberta. Making legislative changes without actually consulting with the young people most implicated in immoral and unethical ... And then Sean Fraser is reposting this. Reaching for the notwithstanding clause on issues affecting kids should concern us all. The trans kids are kids and they deserve safety, compassion, and the freedom to be themselves. And with tariffs looming and families under real pressure, our focus should be on helping people. My 2 takeaways from this: kids. You want to pass bad legislation. You appeal to the motherly gene. And the other thing, well, orange man bad, because if there's another election on the horizon, we can't run on our own merit. I'm opening it up with, yell across the floor.
Go ahead, Andre.
Well, we all know, Sean Fraser, he's referring to trans kid. I always go back to the DSM-5, the diagnosis of mental disorder from the American Psychiatrist Association. This is a disorder. There's no such thing as trans kid. Those are children who are psychologically ill, in the sense that the society creates this disease. We can refer to Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the social contract. Before the social contract, animal is a cruel man is a cruel animal, and after the social contract, we're supposed to live in a society. That man does not read the DSM-5, and it is quite funny because all psychiatrists, they refer to a mental disorder. That's the first point. The second point is toward trans kid. This is sterilization, and I can even go toward maid. So why do we have the great replacement in Canada with mass immigration? It's because we sterilize the kids they will never have children, and we will euthanize the elderly people. I will stop there.
The use of children in this type of marketing language is straight up Munchausen's. Think about the children as Munchausen's by proxy. If you are not helping us make the children well, right, deserve safety, compassion, freedom to be themselves, well, the to be themselves is whatever their education system is pressuring the children to be. Because when 0.02% of the population, according to DSM-5, 0.2% of the population suffer from some sort of sexual dysphoria where they're, reasonably or realistically confused and concerned about their position, their gender, which the DSM by its nature is a diagnosis manual for mental disorder. And this guy, Sean Fraser, this lunatic justice minister, who as justice minister is talking about policy, not justice, right? He's outside his lane talking about this. The freedom to be themselves, the deserved safety, the compassion. He's feminizing the policy, and that makes us bad men and bad fathers because we're not providing the safety and compassion. This goes to a video you're probably going to bring up later, where they are literally going to use children to present the message to us the same way that Hitler Youth did, to shove this garbage down our throat. This man is intentionally, well, maybe not intentionally, but what's happening is he's using Munchausen's by proxy to tell you that you're a bad mother if you don't do this for your kids. And Andre is right. If they're not getting a fast enough replacement from the mass immigration, then they will, by reducing the pre-existing population from the bottom, prevent the next generation, sterilization, basically like using a bacteriostat. It cannot reproduce, therefore it dies, will not reproduce, and get rid of the elderly, then that accelerates the rate of over, I can't get the word right in my head. That accelerates the replacement rate, right? So that because the existing population shrinks, there is less resistance, right? There's less resistance. The country becomes more permeable if there are fewer people there. That's where this is going. So with tariffs looming, families under real pressure, our focus should be on helping people. Once again, putting the government into the parental role, right? The government will take, I'm from the government, I'm here to help.
Well, during the Soviet Union, I always make the same joke. The Soviet Union, the children were fabricated in a factory and were owned by the Communist Party. One thing I want to say, it's quite ironic that Sean Fraser mentioned how to protect children when they mask them for 2 and practically 3 years and force injection in them. We always know that the criminal always come back on the scene of the crime. So that's what is happening now. They push it. They're doubling down on the the 2030 UN agenda.
Well, they're projecting fake compassion. Like they're pretending like they actually care. And it's not whether they care or they don't care. This is just politics. All Sean Fraser cares about is the same thing every single liberal MP and potential candidate cares about, which is the same thing conservative candidates, MPs care about. They just want to be elected. And the party comes to them and they say the polling shows that people overwhelmingly will vote in favor of this and that and all our policies if we pretend, if we use the word kids, if we mention how trans kids are, they're victims, and if we do this sort of messaging, Canadians being so goddamn stupid, they can't think, they just feel that, and they only feel when it comes time to voting at election time, 4 weeks of the year. The rest of the time they're just complaining about taxes. They gobble this up, and the reason that I chose this topic for this week is this works. The conservatives are getting clobbered out there with this messaging. I don't know.
When I did a couple of bits of research that I threw up on my Substack and made graphs that we'll go through today later, you realize that the government is spending real money on internet marketing and marketing in general. And among those things that they're doing are hiring people to write what is being attributed to Sean, what's his name? Fraser? I don't know. It's already gone. So I lost my train of thought. Someone else is writing his stuff, right? So the way I see it now, what is possible is you could literally have a hood ornament, otherwise known as a member of parliament, or a member. Sorry, a minister for a particular ministry is basically a hood ornament now, right? So then underneath is this advertising narrative mechanism, which they're paying for by hiring in external marketing people to do the writing for them and managing it for them. That's what I see happening now. And the research that I did shows that this ridiculously crazy uptick in government spend in this in online social media in particular is proof that they're still in campaign mode, right? And being still in campaign mode, they're going to push to be top of mind.
Do you want to comment, Andre?
Well, briefly, Tim, you're right. Campaign. I think they're in campaign mode permanently. They always try to instead of doing their job. So why do we elect those people? We elect those people. We delegate violence and we delegate them the responsibility to govern a country. It's not what they're doing. They're always in campaign mode, trying to win the heart of people or trying to control the emotion of people. That's what we're seeing now. And honestly, they will never accept a challenge, a debate with us. They will be so scared. They're scared of social media. So now, like Payment will maybe show later how they are promoting all those ideology on social media. They're using children, and we will talk about this later, I think.
So we'll go on.
The people credited with these posts, the ministers who are credited with saying these things, they could very well be saying these things. But I think that they have writers writing it for them and passing it to them to quickly approve or disprove. Because the number of times that ministers are starting to post something online tells me, apparently you don't have enough hours in the day. We need to get you to do some actual work. Get off your frickin' phone and get off X or wherever platform you're on and go do some work. Right? But they're obviously not working because the plan has been given to them. Right? King Charles came and gave the plan. He didn't just simply give a declaration, a proclamation from the throne here in our parliament. He came with a plan. You'd be guaranteed they came with documents saying this is what you're going to do in whatever Canadian way you manage to make it happen. But you've been given your orders, right? So once upon a time, Trudeau bragged about giving mandates. specific letters of mandate or mandate letters to different ministers to perform certain tasks, to reach certain quotas, et cetera, et cetera. You can guarantee that if we're watching the Five Eyes nations begin to behave exactly the same way, they're all receiving the same orders, right? And so that means, I bet you any money, you go and you ask Google to do a little bit of research and say, compare all of the colonial countries government's online information programs. $10 says they'll all have the same tone, right?
This is what happened during COVID. They all had the same message.
So I'm just going to say, first of all, Gary, thank you for reposting the stream. Kirk as well. A big thank you to both of you for being regular viewers. If everybody else could repost the stream, that would help. We are already at 100 viewers, so we want to try to break 750 this time. Baby steps, Andre, not 7 billion. What does Kirk say? Just real quick, they switch the politicians around so they don't become stagnant, correct? And Gary says the chickens are running the coop. That's a good one. I'm going to use that. Let's go to the next one. If you guys just bear with me while I fumble my way through. What do we got? We got Mark Shaw, just a random person, and so Tara Armstrong of 1BC. They're the ones that are coming out and saying this. There are no dead children buried at the Kamloops residential school. That's all they're saying. What they're saying is, you can't build a society based on lies. So naturally, there's a massive campaign to get these people out. These two are the only legitimate politicians in Canada right now running for office. I'm sorry, I have no faith in anyone else. What does Mark Shaw say? This is what racism and bigotry looks like. Well, for the left that hates MAGA so much and American-style politics, this is exactly what they've become, the very thing they swore to destroy. Tim.
Well, we can, people tell us, what's that line? If I tell you who I am, believe me. Look at his profile photo. Now I believe him, right? Absolutely everything is framed in the first, right? Nasty Canadian and proud of it. Photographer and sailing nut. I blocked Dr. Bonnie Henry haters. Oh, so he's from British Columbia and he supports the Ukraine. So that means he's nasty photographer. Okay, then it's reasonable to assume that he's also an NDP voter.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andre, if you want to jump in.
Which immediately reduces him to a 2-digit IQ.
Well, okay, I will. That's a good introduction, Tim. It's funny because it reminds me of Trotsky. All the sentences that are usually used by people who don't have any argument. If you go back to the sentence payment of Mark, what's his name? Mark Shaw, racism and bigotry, and that's it. No debate. Usually, what you do, you accuse people. There's no debate. There's no recognition of fact. That we know now that there's no grave, and evidence are accumulating. It's like the injection. It's like the war in Ukraine. All the evidence are accumulating. Zelensky is refusing the 28 requirement peace proposal, and they're doubling on they're gambling more and more. Why? Because I think they are in panic. Most of the left is in panic. You can see it on social media, and we will see it more and more. I think the real conservative movement will rise. It will take a lot of time. Tim always say that it's not hive mind. It's not like the liberal. It takes time, but when you arrive at the tipping point, people will start to wake up. Maybe you will refer to the property rights later. When you will lose everything, you will rise. Maybe you can bring the quote of the Ottoman anecdote just for the fun of it.
I did something wrong. I'll bring it up. You keep rambling.
Well, no, it's because it's quite funny accusing people like this. They always do this. It's quite easy to do it. But again, like Sean Fraser, this Mark Shaw will never accept a debate with us. Never. They are afraid. They don't have any arguments. So, and this quote from what I found, author unknown, a Khan sends his horde of nomads to pillage, and destroy a village whose peasants refuse to pay tribute. So everything is devastated. The village has been burned down, and the chief of the horde reports on the situation. So asked the Khan, how did they react? My prince, they lamented, wept, and begged us on their knees. Good, says the Khan. Go back and burn everything that remains. So the nomadic horde returns to the village and repeats the same stratagem. After a few trips back and forth, the leader of the horde appears before the Khan. How did they react this time? My prince, they started laughing like madmen. That's good. Don't go back. They have nothing left and they are happy. So one day, it's like this is Marx. It's the history arrives. The first part it is tragedy, and the first part it is farce or parody. When we will arrive at this point, you will see people who will rise. Real men will rise. It will take time. Maybe, like you said, the title of this episode, time is running out. Maybe it's not such a bad thing after all, because when we will face the wall, you will see real men will rise. I hope.
Andre, first of all, Wolf says of that Chris Shaw guy or whatever, ideologue, tainted mind, I agree. You mentioned the property rights, so the East Indian gentleman in Richmond that's potentially losing his property. I had a conversation with my father yesterday, and usually he asks me, what's going on with Trump, and I tell him, oh, Venezuela, this one thing happened, Ukraine, there's this battle movement. This time I said, Canada in 20 years at this rate, it's not going to exist the way it's existing right now. I told him the CIA and the CSIS, they're duking it out over who gets Alberta's fate. And I told him, he told me about the Airbnb laws in BC. So they basically outlawed Airbnb in BC. He said this is a bad law. And I told him, the substance of these laws, they don't matter anymore. The only thing that matters is that, good Canadian men and women, like your friends, and I cited them by name. I said, this guy, that guy, they're not going to spill out in the streets, and the government's going to just keep escalating. So don't even bother wasting your time. If Canadians aren't willing to stand up for their rights, there's no point talking about the bills that are stripping them of their rights. Tim, what do you think?
Let's go back to Zelensky for a moment. So do I understand correctly that he has rejected the latest peace proposal? So if he has rejected the latest peace proposal, that's because Marxism demands endless revolution. Why turn off the tap? Right? So we have to start framing everything the government says, everything. And I mean any of the 343 of them in that building, any of them. See, the senators are at least half smart. They don't talk publicly. But the MPs can't help themselves, right? Particularly the ministers themselves and the shadow, right? Their shadows, right? They cannot help but shoot their face off. And so they have to be corralled, and the Crown is aware of this. So then they say, well, you're going to spend this much on marketing, and a big chunk of that marketing is going to be staff who will do your damn writing for you, because you've proven to me that you can't do it yourself. This is why you got Sean Fraser is actually using, someone else's ghostwriting for him, as far as I'm concerned, because it's subversive use of the language in the way he's stringing key words together that were used during the Liberals' campaign and previous Liberal government, that proved to me that if they're still using campaign language during a sitting government period, they're still in campaign mode. So they're still trying to win people over who are of a Liberal or NDP mindset, and wagging the finger, the disapproving, your auntie is unhappy with you, right? You spilled tea on auntie's carpet. She's very unhappy with you. And this is the behavior that they're taking with those to the center and those to the right of the political spectrum. Endless revolution. we are not going to have honest debate and honest discussion and honest dialogue, because the dialectic demands the dialectic continue, right? See, we when we use the word dialectic, we're actually thinking more in terms of a debate with a conclusion, right? And the conclusion is you agree that you both have value on the subject, or one persuades the other. So we generally agree in that dichotomous nature of debate. The dialectic says we just want to keep the wheel turning. They don't care who's right or who's wrong. They've just chosen an angle and they're pushing the wheel. They just want to keep the wheel turning. That's it, because that's the physical mechanism of Marxist endless revolution. If the goal is endless revolution, there will be no peace, because that's not what they want. They just want endless revolution. So when you say time is running out, time is absolutely running out, because here we are on the right, still like 5, 10, 15 years later, still thinking that the left is of a rational mind, that the left wants healthy families, that they want healthy culture, that they want to trust, to respect our traditions. And they do not, because they just want to self-immolate and create whatever it is in a brand new, Phoenix event moment. And they are I've mentioned this several times in other audiences, maybe not here. The Phoenix is not reborn until it self-immolates. It has to do it to itself. This is the Christology moment, right? When Christ is on the cross and he says, "It is finished," right? So having completed, right? So he gives up the ghost. So Marxism is going to force the country, the culture, because it's cultural Marxism at this point, is going to force cultural self-immolation. It's going to use mutilation of children, sterilization, economic pressure, pressure on the family, a increasingly aggressive feminism, right? And other modes like this. It's going to use Munchausen's by proxy. It's going to use Pavlovian behavioral management. We see that already. We've seen it plenty. It's very easy to see everywhere we go. Put the arrows on the ground in the store, right? And you instinctively follow arrows. Why? Because that's what we do. Right? That's what we do. We're little parrots. We're like, give me something to look at on the floor. We're chickens in the coop. And what was the other one? Stockholm syndrome. So basically, we've been saying this for since the beginning of COVID, between Stockholm syndrome and Pavlovian behavioral management and Munchausen's by proxy. And these are very popular and very capable and very easy to manage tools, and they mesh well together with any marketing program, because today's war is primarily a war of words. And what baffles me the most is Canada is increasingly participating in social media. So once upon a time, what I thought was Canada's, like on the whole, the adult population was maybe 15-20% were actively participating in social media. But the numbers are more like 60%, 70%, 80% of each population group participating in that type of social media that appeals to their, to their worldview and whatnot, the way they interact with the world. The government knows this because they're hiring people more intelligent than us, more intelligent than them, more capable with more tools and more ability to exact this up. So I see you're shaking your head when I say more intelligent than us, but it's, and I get it. I get it.
Andre is a humble man.
The point, like Moses, the most humble man. The point I'm making is there is a massive machine above us, a global machine above us, with varying degrees and types of cogs and engines and individuals and pistons and all the bits and pieces that are much more organized than we are. Much more organized. Much more, yes, much more strategic. And so
Let's
I'm not
let's
introducing morality or capability, right, or intelligence. I'm saying the machine itself is a juggernaut.
let's see what Andre has to say. But first, Robbie, thank you for restreaming the room. If everybody else could restream, that would help. If you have any questions, we promise to get to them at the end. So please put them in the comments. Go ahead, Andre.
Well, Tim mentioned something. He was talking about Marxism. I will say Bolshevik. 19. We're in 2025. 2029 it will be 100 after the Great Depression, 1929. That was 10 years after 12 years after the Russian putsch or the Bolshevik putsch. The message is the same, and he's right. An endless revolution always creates insecurity for people, and they can never rest. They can never meditate on their life. They can never enjoy. They're always afraid of something. Something will happen. Something will happen tomorrow. I have to live today because something tomorrow. Maybe I will die. Maybe I will lose my house. I will do. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when we look at the social media, actual social media. There was a movie. I think it was in 2021 or 22. I'm not watching Hollywood at all. But in one of my essay, I referred to this movie. The title was "Don't Look Up." I think maybe you will remember. It was an asteroid that was supposed to hit the planet Earth, but the metaphor was quite simple. Like they are always stupid and simple in Hollywood. It says, "Hey peasants, don't look up. Bow down in front of the master." And that was the real message, because Hollywood is always playing on those metaphor that nobody really pay attention to. So you are in a state of permanent revolution. You can never rest. You can never accumulate goods, wealth, because they always deprive you of this. That's interesting. The other thing that I want to mention about this man who has a Ukrainian flag and he's supporting Ukraine. I've discovered very recently that the oligarchy in Ukraine is running away from Ukraine. They're buying assets everywhere. But you know where they're buying assets?
Canada.
In Moscow. They're buying flats in Moscow because it's the safest place to put your money. Actually, the funny part, the irony part of this is this man who has a Ukrainian flag, he agrees that in Canada we send billions of dollars to the criminal gang in Kiev, and those people, they're just laundering money and they're buying flat in Moscow. The irony is there, and when you discover this, that's why one of the minister in the Kiev regime flew away from Ukraine because he was afraid to be assassinated. We are in this state now, permanent revolution. And I will end on something. You know, when you put light on a group of cockroaches, they all run away. The elite is afraid. They're afraid, so they will double down. It means that we are arriving at the end of a cycle. The end of a cycle, maybe 4 generations, 80 years. Let's think about 1945 today. The international institutions are crumbling. They're not working. They're corrupted. They're financed, and the money is looted everywhere. So we will see some events in 2026. I think the war in Ukraine, or the conflict in Ukraine, will end. But what we will see, the oligarchy will not stop, because a psychopath cannot stop. It has to be stopped. And it's up to us to stop them.
No small feat. We're going to move on, but the Remanded, thank you for reposting the stream. Sue Kellen Dyer, good evening. I'm expecting at least a handful of questions from you, so go ahead and start typing them in the comments. Let's go. Here's another one I prepared for this show. If anyone's joining us right now, the topic of this episode is, the escalation of the battlefield on social media, particularly from the left, the Liberal Party. So this guy, Eric St. Pierre, he writes, Pierre Poilievre chose the worst kind of politics over truth, spending his entire time as conservative leader feeding vaccine hesitancy instead of challenging it. Now we're living with the consequences. And I posted this. I read this. I thought it was like a bot. Maybe it was just some idiot member of society, like a child. This guy he's a member of parliament. He's an MP. And he's putting out filth like this. And these are the same people who come out and say, we reject MAGA. We don't want American style politics. Well, if this is not American style politics, just it's like a getting behind your favorite football team. Tell me what American style politics is. This is shameful. And Andre, you mentioned that. Let me get Sue Kellen Dyer out of there. You mentioned how they're panicking. The left is panicking. Well, yeah, they're panicking. I think this is their reaction, and this has been they've been panicking since Mark Carney got parachuted in. But I don't know if I would call it panic, or this is just the end game. Like the gloves have come off.
I disagree with the panic assessment.
Go ahead.
Because if self-immolation of the culture and the government system is the objective, then I want it to crumble. What I'm hoping for is that now, having pushed the country over the falls, right? We've said this, used this metaphor previously, having gone over the falls, when we hit the water down below, we want to survive that impact. So I think that what they're trying to cause the collapse of the industry, the mechanisms of civilization, the underlying tools and infrastructure, etc., they are intentionally causing that to collapse. So I don't think that they are panicking. I think that they are intensifying their activity, but they're trying to manage the fallout at the end to their benefit for whatever is born out of this collapse, right? Are we seeing panic? Certainly in some of the less educated or less informed among their ranks, right? For all of Chrystia Freeland's access to the upper echelons at that level, she still sounds like a complete lunatic, right? So so I think at some point in time they realized, okay, Aunt Bunny is a little bit not right in the head, but she's an oligarch and we have to put up with it. So we'll just manage the fallout around her as we go along, because she'll be gone in 20 years and things will get back to normal. And I think that's David Eby is an example of that type of useless idiot. He creates panic around him, and that's intentional, right? So I don't think that the entire mechanism, like the Liberal Party, is acting in panic. I think elements and individuals who are not as capable of playing the Marxist game are panicking. I think that the government as a whole, particularly the executive branch of each province even, are operating according to a playbook. I don't know that they're given an actual mandate document and they follow this, but I think that they're more capable, and they've been basically told, cause your province, cause your country to implode, but leave enough behind, right? So that when we're all crawling out from the dust underneath, when we crawl out of our ark, right, and everybody else is sorted and gone, then we survive and the system itself continue to exist. There's a joke movie about this idea called the nude bomb, right? So based on the idea of the neutron bomb, which is where it was a movie, and the idea was the bomb made everybody naked. Right, the neutron bomb, it theoretically was supposed to destroy living material, right? To discorporate living material and leave the buildings, leave the infrastructure unaffected. And I think that's kind of what we're looking at, is some type of Marxist revolutionary system that removes the people and retains the instruments of our Western civilization.
It's quite interesting you mentioned the nude bomb. I will refer to, again, 1925. In Russia, Mikhail Bulgakov wrote a masterpiece. The title of the book is Master and Marguerite, and it's about, a critic of the Soviet Union system at the time. And Wolin, who represents, he's a consultant, but he's also the devil. And they have a show. And they attract all women and all men, all Soviet Union men and women. And on stage, they promise women to so they can go and have dress from Paris. And all women, they go on stage, they have dress for free. People money is following on the audience. 100 ruble. At the time it was a lot of money. And as soon as women go out and men go out of the show, they're all nude, because all the illusion disappears, and now they're completely stuck. Men, they have money, they have a 100 ruble bill, they take a taxi, it is a white paper, so the illusion is there, and we see it. What time is running out. Payment mentioned that, time is running out for Canadian. It will accelerate whether we like it or not. And the question that I would ask you two gentlemen was, do we help the tower to fall or do we try to stop it? What would be the best strategy? Wolf mentioned that the Liberal, they have a strategy, they have good strategy because they want to destroy. Maybe we help them. And after that, we will be able to reconstruct something more strong based on real value, not what we're having now. That's a question for both of you. Or for our audience.
That's a good question, Leon.
Yeah, I have my view on that. Many moons ago, when I was young and stupid, and usually it was my attitude, my fat mouth got me in trouble at the bar on a Friday night. And someone would say, "Do you want to fight?" I didn't answer. I just swung. Right? So and is there value in the right, or the right side of history? This is us patting ourselves on the back, saying, aren't we good people, right? I'm so modest, I'm on the right side of history, right? Is there value in us provoking them intentionally? And the answer is yes, if you can sustain the fight. Because it's proven that our current tools do not survive the fight. We've been playing their lawfare game. Let me give you an example of what's right. So we have a person of a political or educational or military or whatever who's run afoul of their their provincial organization or the government itself, etc. And then suddenly they find themselves being charged with some type of human rights, whatever, and they're up in front of a judge, and it's going to cost them tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight this ridiculousness. And meanwhile, the average Joe is financially supporting this effort because they believe that fighting lawfare with lawfare is a good idea. And my thought is, take the power out of the court in this civil type of action and pay the fucking fine and move on. Because paying the fine is 10% of fighting it, right? So there's a joke among some people that say a traffic fine is basically paying for permission, right? You're paying for permission. We need to start looking at. No, Sue, we cannot sustain the fight. They have $2 trillion they can dip into. We cannot sustain the fight. We have to outsmart them, and we have to outsmart them on a family level. So when they take you to court, they take our heroes, right? Those, when they take them to court, and the courts as well, the lawyers as well, it'll cost $100,000 to fight this, and then we put out all these pleas, help fund this and help fund this. No, pay the bill. Be very public about it. Shame them when you do so, and then save the people their money and say, this is our angle. We don't bend. We do not play the game. They want you to drain your money dry fighting them. That's why we cannot sustain the fight. Their resources are bottomless because they're using your resources. We need to think differently. We need to think smarter, and we're not there yet.
Well, it's because, like Wolf mentioned, they have a strategy. We don't. I would advocate this for many years now. What type of strategy? What would be the goal, the mission, the vision, the strategy, and the tactic? How we would do this? We really don't have a strategy to fight. I quite agree with what you said, but some of the things I disagree with. You say, okay, pay the fine. Okay, pay the fine until what? Until you're bankrupt. One day you have to stand up. You don't have the choice. And then the tipping point, when the tipping point will arrive, you will see a lot of people will stand up, but you will not see leaders. You will see ordinary people who will suddenly feel that they cannot live anymore under the pressure of the tyrant, and they will have to stand up. It's not a question of when, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. I think that what will happen, and we see this often, we saw this often in history, in the recent history, 100 years, the last century, in the East European country, in Romania, in Georgia, you had a lot of protest and riots and uprising. It comes from people who are feeling that they are in danger. I think payment will refer to the property right. Do we have rights in Canada, or do we have privileges? I feel that I don't have any rights in Canada, and I don't want to pay for privileges. We can refer to what Charles Fichtner was talking about, the natural law. I don't need a permission to drink water. I don't need a permission to breed hair. I don't need a permission to build a business. I don't need a permission to feed my children. I don't need the government to tell me what to do. And that's, like you mentioned, Tim, the endless revolution. That's what they want. They want us to live in fear. I defy them. Let's
See,
try. Let's do it.
and I'm not.
Can
I'm
I get
not
an
trying
edge,
to.
a word in edgewise here? Or?
Yep.
Okay, so Clown World, thank you for reposting the stream. For everybody else watching, if you can repost, it would really help. We're trying to boost our numbers. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you have questions, you can put them in the comments. I'm going to bring up something Gary here has said. It's about this post. I find his post extremely offensive. Will I be able to use the new censorship laws to remove his opinion and protect the children and grandma? I highly doubt that. Those censorship laws are,
Sean Fraser post.
Yeah. Oh, is it the wrong one? Thank you, Tim. I thought this was a left-wing bot account. Oh man, I'm the worst host. No, I think it was this one, but whichever one it was a funny comment. And there was another one, Sue Kellen Dyer. This one's for you, Andre. I thought it was funny. Andre, the modern version would be purple-haired people out in electric cars with bitcoins falling on them. That was
thank you, Sue, for bringing this, especially from Newfoundland and Labrador or from Quebec. And without electricity, good luck to dye your hair in purple with your electric car and your Bitcoin. No energy, no progress.
The other thing I'll mention, Clown World, in response to your question, should we just push it over, destroy it, support the Liberals? Death by 1,000 cuts or acceleration? Although it will be tough, I choose the latter. So she's on your side, Andre.
There's a it's not a Far Side comic, but back when newspapers used to have the editorial comic, the one panel, the one frame comic, there's a picture. Someone in the audience will know who this artist is, of a guy. He's in the doctor's office, got his shirt off and a big hairy back, and there's a bandage that goes all the way down his back, a great big old Band-Aid style bandage. Wide as his back, get all the way, and his back is super hairy. The doctor says, "Do you want me to pull it off fast or slow?" And that's the panel. So the right. So the point the artist is making is, it doesn't matter what you choose, it's going to hurt. So pick your poison, right? So Clown World is right. Are we going to take the slow death, or are we going to accelerate ourselves by am I inciting? That's risky. By accelerating the process, you actually have more control over your Venn diagram, like your position in that process. By actively participating in it or accelerating it, you will have more control. Right? Now that's a psychological thing. That's a philosophical position, but it may not be actual or practical, but that's the idea, right? If you participate in the process, you will have more control than if you just float down the stream wherever the stream may take you. And what we try to do, and many others in the pod space and other things, writers, etc., saying the same things that we're saying over the last number of years, is you have an opportunity to be you. I don't really care if you're liberal or conservative or Martian, or I don't care. I care that you speak your own mind and not parrot the words of someone else because it's easier or because you don't feel sufficient of yourself to have your own mind. Ultimately, we want, because that's where dialogue happens, right? A liberal minded, not even liberal, because we're closer to liberal than sometimes than what we'd like to admit, at least as far as the classical liberal definition is concerned. So if a person or an ideologue is willing to speak their own mind, and that includes the right, because we have our own dictionary, right? If they're willing to speak their own mind, you will make progress. You can continue to disagree, but at least you will not, be slinging nonsense at each other endlessly forever. But as far as ideology is concerned, Marxism is endless revolution. And where the conservative minded individual insists on stability, cultural stability, right? Institutional stability, et cetera, et cetera. We insist on systems of stability. And Marxism says, is that stable? And we're like, yeah, it's stable. Great. Fuck with it. Right. And we are resisting against that.
Andre, I'm going to throw it back to you, but just really quickly, I wanted to mention one thing here that I forgot. Where is it? If you guys can see here, embarrassing and sad, Canada loses measles elimination status after nearly 30 years. They're doing the COVID playbook again. They're dusting off the anti-vaxxer rhetoric. Go ahead.
Well, in European Union now they're erasing all the statistics of the COVID crisis from the database. Why? The criminal always try to get rid of the evidence before fleeing the crime scene. This is one thing. The other thing, slow death or fast death. I think, of course, we will suffer. Of course, we will suffer. But do we have the choice? We don't have the choice. We have an enemy in front of us. We know this. We can stay polite with people, but I'm sorry, I will not comply with this tyrannic government. I will not comply, and I did not comply since a long time. But now I know. Well, first of all, I base my strength on faith. It's not complicated. They can deprive me of everything. They cannot deprive me of my faith and my soul. So that's. But if they don't believe in it, it's okay. It's okay. But if you start to fight with and you base your fight on truth, we can go back to this comment about bigotry and racism. Those people they don't have language. They don't have language. They have 30 words of vocabulary. They don't have language. They cannot structure. I have to apologize to our English viewers because I'm French Canadian and sometimes I struggle. Since 1 year and a little bit more that I know you and we do this podcast, my English has improved a lot. Not because I'm that intelligent, because I read in English, I write in French, and I translate my text in English, and I improve my vocabulary. Still, I pretend that I have a good vocabulary in French, in English. In French, it's much better. But those people, they don't have vocabulary. They all rely on slogan. That's why it works. 3-word slogan. We can remember axe the tax. So the idea is, can we have a debate? I'm not a physician, but I can have a debate with a physician. I would read the book of the book of a physician, and I would have a debate or a discussion with the person, and I would know my limit. They don't. They think they are limitless in everything. They're protected by bureaucracy. They're protected by the system. They have their benefits from the system, and they think that they are not. They are untouchable. They are not. They are not. I can remember people, Nicolae Ceausescu in Romania. The government thinks that they are not thought that they were. The regime thought that it was not untouchable by people. If we arrive at a situation where people are desperate, I can guarantee you there's a lot of people who will try to hide from reality, especially if it becomes aggressive or violent.
I'm kind of beating a dead horse at this point, but this is another one. As Tim said, they're in campaign mode still. Laura is right. Canada is not broken, and Pierre Poilievre spreading these lies is dangerous. If this is not broken, tell me what Canada broken looks like. Do we need the Islamic Republic of Iran? This is ridiculous. This is not an outside campaign period comment to put on social media.
Well, look at the women first of all. $1.3 trillion. I think she doesn't even know how to do a budget, like Chrystia Freeland, who was finance ministry for what, 8 years, and she could not even do a budget. I think when she was 40 years old, she had to add her parents' sign because she needed a loan to buy an apartment. You can imagine that. They live in a virtual reality. Let them live in a virtual reality. But of course, if they're paid $200,000 by the government, it's much more easy to be on social media and bullshit people like this all the time. That's what it's the only thing they can do.
There was a comment on the side mentioning that we are not terminal yet. I strongly disagree, because 80,000 people chose MAID last year. Canada is terminal. We are absolutely terminal. 80,000 people were killed by the government using MAID last year. We are absolutely terminal. When Payman showed the title for this show, Time's Running Out, he was rightfully angry.
And per capita, Tim, Quebec is the #1 in the world. Near my house, 10 kilometers from me, there's an elderly resident, and now they're proposing session to people, entertaining session with MAID. This, I'm not inventing this. This is the government of Quebec who's proposing this.
Yes, the MAID is the #6 killer or cause of death in Canada right now. Fucking government-assisted suicide is the #6 cause of death in Canada right now. We are terminal. Fact. Time is running out.
The #6 killer of people in Canada is the government, basically. Sorry, there's a funny comment from Wolf. It's regarding this one. The system that she inhabits is not broken. She belongs to the looter class.
She does. She does.
Is that spelled LUDER?
No, it's not. It's not. I wanted to. Sorry, I don't know whose turn it is, but I wanted to bring up one other thing.
It's your turn.
Okay, good. We can open it up. I think it's this one. So Mark Nixon, I'm hoping to get him on an interview, but he said the government is going full tilt on online censorship. This is Bill C-63. This was the Online Harms Act, where they said, think of the children. There's online AI, child pornography. So we have to stop it. And by the way, we're going to send you in jail for life for hate speech. But I'm not going to play this whole thing. I just brought this one little clip, which I think this is disgusting. It's like Canada's Greta Thunberg. Let me get the comment out of the way. Apologies for being so bad at my job.
Parents can't do this alone. Kids can't do this alone. We need the government and tech companies to do their jobs. Parents can't do this alone. Kids can't do this alone. We need the government. We need the government. We need the government and tech companies to do their jobs.
If
this is what it is, the reincarnation of Trotsky, or what?
That's Hitler.
A child like this, weaponizing children like this. This is typical. They did it with the women. They did it with gay. They did it with all minorities. The black. They weaponize people. What? Why a man like me, who's 65, soon 63, 66? Why I would listen to a fucking kid who will lecture me? He was not even born when I had my first car. What is it? What they will bring them and they will vote soon. Good luck. What is it? This bullshit with children on social media. Where are the parents?
I don't know where they are. They're irresponsible parents. I was just laughing at Clown World's. It's Clown World. That is not an appropriate comment. I can't bring it up. Yeah, I don't know, Tim. What do you want to add? I got distracted by Clown World.
Well, that's what part of we've gone over the edge is the general public missing. right? And I'm not the first person to say these things, and I'm not going to be the last person to say this, so this is not anything special about me. Until we start reading Martin Luther King Jr. and learning about how he used civil disobedience and other forms of, non-aggressive pushback, right, then we are going to stay where we are. The funny thing is, as much as I don't want to be like America, I want to be like Canada, we have to adopt a more American mindset toward love and devotion to those things that gave us the standard of living we've enjoyed up until recently. And we're not. And even on the right, we're still not, because we don't want to fight, because fighting might give me tennis elbow or something. I might get a paper cut or something, or much worse, right? Sending a donation to the truckers convoy might get my bank account frozen, and I'm a single mother working as a server in a restaurant, and that would cripple me. So it's very easy to sprinkle, right? Sprinkle. I'm quoting Halecki while I'm reading. It's very easy for us to capitulate to larger forces, because we are so inoculated. Is that the right word? Inculcated. We are so inculcated to government infrastructure and influence in our lives, right? I have a disability pension for my mental disorder, because if I go to work, I'm likely to do irreparable harm to the employer. And so that means that for me to be financially independent means I have to walk away from that quote unquote government benefit, even though it's actually a pension, right? It's actually an investment return. I have to find financial independence if I'm going to open my fool mouth and give the government cause to hit me from a financial control. So I get it. But there are ways that we can strike back. So when the three of us always tend to work to summarize the show by saying, do what you need for your family, right? Strengthen your family, right? Payment's line, hug your children, etc. We mean these things. We mean these things because they are the last bastion. They are also the cornerstone, right? So with a strong cornerstone, we can build the house. We can build our next, whatever is going to come down the pipeline, because Canada, as we know it, is not on life support. It's breathing its last gasp. We will see Canada morph into something that is not democracy in our lifetime, and probably before 2030, probably with 2030, probably because of Agenda 2030. That's 4 years, folks. That's 4 years. We've done nothing. I don't mean it quite that way. Now I'm being melodramatic. But Payman's right. Time is running out. And suggesting that we're on life support or we're not terminal, that's sorry, you're wrong. We're wrong. The government can turn around, and they know where I live. They know where Payman is. They know where Andre is. They have access to their bank accounts. They have access to all of their records and everything. It would only take one phone call, one text, and we would be anything they want to do with us, because we have no influence. We have no power. We are nobodies, and you'd never see us again, right? Look what they did with Artur Pawlowski, right? He up in off-grid prison for weeks up in northern Alberta. He thinks, not really sure, and basically left to die where nobody knew where he was, and and we know that it's possible. We know that it's possible, and we know this, and the average Canadian out there doesn't, and that's what we're trying to do, is get the average Canadian to know. Ultimately, family first. And that's the goal, because whatever is happening in Canada now, not going to stop. We're not going to stop it, right? So as far as I'm concerned, we'll go back to like 1984, when the missiles were flying, right? In our old, 1984 nuclear, right, Cold War era ideology, or apocalyptic view. The missiles are already on their way. Right?
Andre, you want to comment? And then we got about 15 questions and comments from the audience.
Yes, maybe you just bring the comment from Sue Calendar about the terminal. No, Sue, I do agree with Tim. I think we are in terminal in the sense that the country is not in a democratic mode. I just wrote an article. The title is The Democratic Labyrinth. We are in a labyrinth and we cannot escape because we're bombed by information and we don't know what is true, what is not true. Where we are financially, it is, yes, we are on a terminal mode. Let's not forget February 1917. It was the first, what we call the second Russian Revolution. That was a real revolution after the 1905 revolution, February. And the Tsar at the time was ready to give a lot of power, and he was ready to create the Duma and to have a lower chamber and a higher chamber. And he was ready to structure the system so he would split his own power. Then arrived the October Putsch. Historian can disagree with me, but I still don't think it is a revolution. It's a putsch. And it took most probably, I think it was 7 years before they had the new economic policy where they understood that the Bolshevik and the system was not what it was supposed to be. Like Tim mentioned, it was an endless revolution. It had good impact on paper, industrialization, and people, they were starting to have more wealth because they were educated. What we're seeing now, if we are in a terminal mode in Canada, it doesn't mean that we will all die tomorrow, but it means that our life will change and we will have to adapt. And I do agree with you. It doesn't mean that we have to not bother. Of course, we will continue to fight. It's not a question of fighting or not fighting. It's not even a duty. It's an existential threat. So we have to do it. It's either we fight or die. Now that this has changed, the context has changed. Our strategy has to change. In 2020, 2021, when they arrived with the COVID mandate here in Quebec, we had the curfew. They wanted to force the injection. They want to deprive us of our right, like we have rights in Canada. And I started to feel different when I saw the Freedom Convoy, and I started to tell myself, okay, I'm not alone. I have allies. We have to fight. And my mental process changed through the years. Now we're practically in 2026. I think even if we are in a terminal mode as what we think that Canada was before, it will change. For the better or worse, it's up to us to decide the future, not the government.
I can share my thoughts. So Sue Kellen Dyer says we're not terminal. We can do another analogy. This is like that movie Troy, or the story of Troy. They've got the horse in, they've got the gates in, they've stormed the walls, they're in the castle. Everything's going to shit. Everyone's trying to run away. We're not dead yet. The town hasn't been destroyed. The palace is still there, but it's over. Like I don't know what to do. Like, the people aren't waking up. You have Mark Carney, which is the enemy from the city of London, that's come in like a virus. It's infected the body, and he's here to repossess everything. And I'm going to people and I'm like, guys, we got to do something. And they're like, do something about what? They got the pumpkin spice latte. He's got his Pornhub and Netflix. They don't see a problem. So when my friend Tim says that it's terminal, yes, we haven't sustained the headshot and the heart is still beating, but like, how are you going to solve this problem?
So let's add clarification to my use of the word terminal. We've already said you've gone over the waterfall. Canada has gone over the waterfall. Don't think of yourself as if the waterfall is Canada. The waterfall is a metaphor for civilization in collapse. Canada is the canoe going over the waterfall, right? Our little birch bark canoe with the Iroquois painting on the back corner. That's the canoe going. Actually, I might have made one of those when I was in grade 5. So anyway, that's birch bark and Newfoundland education system for you. Canada, the canoe has gone over the waterfall. We are over the edge of waterfall. We are in free fall. That's terminal. Canada is terminal. The canoe that is, it's really great. I'm gonna milk this one for all it's worth. The canoe that is Canada, is going to be destroyed when it hits the bottom, the pool at the bottom of this section. We will not. If we prepare, we will survive the country. We will survive the government. We will survive the infrastructure. The question is, in what shape or form? How strong will our self-reliance be when we come up gasping for air out of that water at the bottom of the pool? By terminal, it's really a reference to Canada, our democracy problem that they keep shoving at us. That institution, the idea, the dominion of Canada is terminal. It is in free fall. It cannot be stopped. We cannot return Canada to a stable democratic state. It's done. The question now is, how do we help each other to support our families and our neighbors and our friends across the internet and our pod space, etc., so that when you hit the bottom and come back up for air, you have the tools, that you are prepared, that you are doing the things so that you and your family can survive, so that whatever that new structure is, this is the Phoenix moment, whatever that new structure is, you will thrive within it. And yes, I believe that some will survive the drop. I really do. And that's one of the things that what I've seen as the show has evolved over the last year or so is we started out talking about hug your family, right? And then we moved and explored some other ways of producing the show. We find ourselves increasingly coming back to and reinforcing the divine imperative, right? To support your family, right? And I think that's what will survive what's coming. We have 4 years.
Sue, this isn't a one-on-one conversation between you and Tim. I'm gonna hold off from that. Andre, do you want to say anything before we go to the comments?
Well, he's mentioning we went over the fall and we're in free fall now. It reminds me of one book of Salman Rushdie, the Satanic Verse, and it was he had a fatwa against him at the time when he published the novel, because it is two terrorists who just blew up an airplane, and they're in free fall and they're having a discussion. That was quite ironic. And he had a fatwa, Islamic fatwa against him at the time when he published this. We're in free fall, so we still have the time to debate. We still have the time to discuss. We're attached to or we're in the wood barrel. They were going to Niagara Falls and trying those stunts. So now we're falling. We did not touch it. I know it will be painful. I know when we will touch the water or we will fall on the rock. Will we survive? I don't know. But by the time we are now, we are still having those debate and discussion. When I said the elite is afraid, they're afraid of the truth. They're not afraid of us. We are practically nothing. We don't have any influence, no exposure. That's why sometimes we say to people, restream, repost, we repost the episode, talk to other people about us. They can come and they can throw stone at us. They can disagree. It's not important, as long as they come and try to see what we're trying to do. Can we survive the way we used to live before? The answer is no. The answer is no. Tim is right. How it will unfold, what will happen. I think about the Alberta sovereignist movement, the 51st state, the Quebec supposedly polls for the independence of Quebec. Geopolitically speaking, everything is moving now, and the heights are moving everywhere. We're not on solid ground. We're not on conservative ground. We have to be able to keep our balance. I used to play broom ball, and I used to do a lot of water ski. I can guarantee you, trick water ski, you need a lot of balance. But to have balance, you have to be pushed. You have to be shaken. You have to be destabilized, and to see if you have balance. If you have a good balance, and we always say to people who do judo, They always lean down because their center of gravity is very low. So you have to be able to be pushed by other people with an argument. You disagree with the person pushes you, makes you think. Tim mentioned earlier the dialectic process, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. That's Hegel. Hegel was saying, okay, we're evolving to another model. It doesn't mean that we will throw away the old model. It means we will keep what was good in the old model and we will integrate it in the new model. I think in Canada, we will see this moment. When? I think it will come faster than I thought. I was thinking 2028. I think now it will be more fast, and it will not. It will be a financial crisis. It's not. It's not sustainable. The debt is not sustainable.
So we're going to go to the questions. We got 16. First of all, if you guys could repost the stream again, please, we'd appreciate it. We got 16 questions. So, gentlemen, if we could maybe shorten up our responses, because we got to get through all of them. Let's go in reverse order. We'll go with Wolf. He just posted this right now. Canada never was a stable democratic state. We always had been a resource extraction colony of subjects. It's good that that version of Canada is terminal. I'm not going to address the second part, really. The first part, I think, yes, if Charles Bickner taught me anything, is that we started out like this and it's gotten worse and worse. Go ahead, Tim.
It's good that that version of Canada is terminal. In fact, that's its life cycle. It's inevitable. And we need to prepare for that.
Andre?
That was short. I do agree. And I say if the version is finished in a terminal mode, it doesn't mean that we will throw all our values out. I think it's a Christian nation here. We have to ask ourselves, what do we want to do now?
Well, that's a question of what from the old structure will synthesize and survive, right? We treat our own ideology in the dialectic, right? So what from that's what will survive? So then these are questions that we have always been facing here: is what will you do today that will survive tomorrow?
Clown World, you're right. Every time someone reposts the stream, I mail them a 500 Monopoly dollars. So please go ahead and repost it.
You did not send me my $500 last week,
dude. This is our podcast, man. What the hell? Unacceptable. The new Laura Lee. I guess this is a new viewer. I fell a few years ago. It is doable. Canada was peaceful when it was a social democracy, when the government had responsibility to not get involved in our life. It was a neutral government. Neutral was an official position of the government. We all expected that. I agree. I think a big part of what's going on, it's not like they're just today starting to lie to us. They've always lied to us. But they didn't get involved in the family unit. They didn't get involved in your day-to-day affairs. They didn't get involved in your bedroom. And now they're in every aspect of your life. Tim?
Yes, there was a time before the UN had organized its planet-wide vision, and so that probably started coming to fruition on the rise of globalism, right? Which didn't really kick in until early 90s. We talked about it in the 80s, but we were still busy firing all of our middle management because we were busy downsizing and still crawling out of a recession, right? So and during those eras, the government was more like, let's let the private sector do what the private sector does. So they were less interfering than they have become over time. So yes, we had a reasonable expectation that the government would reasonably remain neutral on cultural matters.
Go ahead, Andre.
Well, peaceful and was social democracy. We're in a culture war, and this is not new. I can refer to one book of Michael Jones, for example, Libido Dominandi, The Sexual Revolution, or the way that you weaponize minority propose a political agenda. That's the purpose of the book. 1960, or even before that, the segregation of the black. After that, it was the woman. Then it was the gay. Now it is the children with transgenderism. So it's just accelerating. That's the culture war. You have the economic war too. 1972, the abandonment of the gold standard. Even if I disagree with the gold standard, it was currencies were not in competition with each other. So since 1972, we have a huge debt, and it will never be repaid. That's the best way to enslave people. You enslave people with money, and after that, you use culture war to control their emotion. This is where we are now. So the neutral government that we see, that we saw, was maybe before 1970. Before that, and I think Wolf would also comment on that, the British Crown. So I think that the illusion of neutrality has completely disappeared now.
Good points. Clown World has a good comment. Too many keep talking about doing this or that. As soon as it gets close to disrupting their comfy lives, they retreat. People don't realize that it will take suffering on our part to fix things for our kids. Yes, it also means possibly going to jail with all the new dystopian laws. I agree, and this is why I'm starting to get a lot more frustrated now. People, they don't want to be free; they want to be happy, and they don't make the connection that if you're not free, you can't be happy. All they want to do, and I'm looking at my family friends. They want to drink their alcohol, have their barbecue, listen to their music, play whatever poker or chess or whatever they play, and they got their head in the sand, and that's not a long-term strategy. Go ahead, Tim.
We mentioned this in the green room today before the show. This is the behavior of eat, drink, and be merry for tomorrow we may die, and that's Dionysus, right? The god of wine from Greek mythology. We saw the god of Dionysus in elevated in the Paris Olympics theatrics. The blue, right? The blue god, that's Dionysus, right? Well, actually, they're playing on Shiva too with that, but that's a different conversation. But effectively, the god of the party, the god of no responsibility, the god of wine, and the effect of wine, right? You lose response. You don't lose culpability, but you become irresponsible. Let's put it that way. And so we have a culture that is doing the eat, drink, and be merry for tomorrow you may die, which is a very self-centered application of live and let live, right? Whereas our parents' generation, the 60s and the 70s, had a very live and let live attitude, which was much more neutral position. This new position, which is eat, drink, and be merry, and it demands that you eat and drink with them, right? That's the problem. You can't like some of a leftist's viewpoints without accepting and loving all of it. And that extreme view is what we're trying to push against. And yes, it also means possibly going to jail with all the new dystopian laws. And we've seen that. And on a national scale, we've seen that regarding particular members from the convoy. Right? So we know that it's possible. So and they have a certain degree of protection because of their cultural or national notoriety, their celebrity. What about us down here who nobody knows who we are? None of us can hire a fancy lawyer, and so we would just disappear. But we have to be prepared to disappear. It's just for myself, I want to make sure I have the top bunk. Otherwise, I'm going to end up being somebody's boyfriend tonight. I don't like that idea.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, Clone World, she's right, and I would refer to our new heroes, Kirk Rees, Arthur Paslovsky, Tamara Lish, Chris Barber, and I forget a lot because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who already suffered. They already paid the price. Personally, I paid the price because I lost all my family and all my friends. I broke up all my relationship with all my friends because not only I was not expecting that they would not take the shot or not. They were free to do what they wanted to do. They did not speak. They did not rise when it was the time. Even in a discussion, in a family discussion, it did not happen. So yes, the psychological trauma is there for practically all Canadian. Even the people who agreed with the mandate or who are agreeing with the actual putsch, they're suffering. They just don't know. They are disconnected from reality. They live in virtual reality. When it will hit, I don't know if they will be prepared. I try to be prepared. That's the best I can do.
This would be like coming out of a hyperbaric pressure chamber too quickly. They'll probably explode. I'm going to go through these a little bit quickly. Lori F., thank you very much for reposting the stream. If everyone else could repost, we'd appreciate it. I'm going to clump a couple of these together, and you guys can answer in any way you like. Sue Kellen Dyer says, we are in a financial crisis. Mario Vanni says, Canada has become an abomination. Hear, hear. JP Berg says a perpetual state of synthesis is what, in response to what you said, Andre. And Sue Kellen Dyer says, no need to be polite. Be smart. Polite is lost on the ignorant. I'm going to go with her comments about we're in a financial crisis. Like Canada is, when we say it's in a free fall, like the state of Canada is so bad, not just with the debt and all those macro stuff, just on the micro level. When I talk to people, everyone is depressed. We're just not calling it depression. No one's happy. Everyone's miserable. You can't build anything. Everything is dominated by an oligarchy, whether it's the banking system, telecommunications, or a freaking restaurant. There's no hard work doesn't get you ahead, so you end up becoming a slave to the government. I drifted there. Go ahead, Tim.
No, that's okay. Our last episode, we showed the truth of the matter, and that is, in 15 years, Canada will be insolvent. We proved it. So there's no in a financial crisis. We're past the moment of crisis. We're in the period of collapse, right? We are in it. It is not, we cannot save this. It is inevitable that Canada will be insolvent in 15 years. That's if everything remained as it was today without any changes. Done. The country's cooked, right? The bring up the red bar graph that shows the Canadian money, the government money spent on public messaging. So yeah. So what the Canadian government is doing right now is spending, what's that, 369, spending $9 million in 1 year on social media messaging for parks and recreation, housing and infrastructure, public safety, and the other two are related to employment. Sorry, the top one is employment, basically EI, and the bottom one is innovation, science, and research. They're in on, so these are their topics. The Canada Strong Pass. This is them giving free access to recent immigrants, access to our parks that you and I are no longer allowed to go visit, etc. This is just messaging in millions. This is just their, for 1 year. Bring up the pie chart. And this is the silo. There are 5 silos, and they're all on the internet. So this is a percentage by age group of Canadians that are on the internet. And what, so you have all these groups, and the 2 most important groups are the 25 up to 64. That's, what is that, 28, 24, is that 60%? 50%. So more than 50% of the entire population is captured in 2 groups that are on social media. And of those 2, for example, X doesn't even make it. Like, it's not even on the list. It's an outlier. The X's reach is so small and so tiny in Canada. It's just a bunch of angry men. That's it. That's what the research tells me. All of these numbers, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then the other ones are the more youth-minded, right? TikTok, etc. The bulk of these 25-year-olds up to 64-year-olds is Facebook and Instagram. They're all captured. They're all captured. And this is what we're fighting against.
It's quite interesting.
Are we in crisis? No, the crisis is behind us. We're already in free fall.
We're in chaos.
We're in collapse. So hug your children, and that doesn't mean hug them because death is next. It means strengthen your families. So, and I don't mean to be banging a gong on this, but I think that if we need to be solutions minded right now, and the solutions are not another fucking petition, the solutions is not lawfare, the solutions is not even another protest, although they do have their value, right? But that's not the solution. The solution is the family unit, which is what is under attack. The destruction of the family unit is what has been under attack for the last 30 years, if not longer. Right? Actually, if we're going to do that, we could go right straight back to no fault divorce and the pill, right? As the attack on the family. And so that's a different type of cultural thing. Clown World, those are not polls and surveys. I did that research myself using government information. So, yeah. One of the things that we said is that we were going to be doing more journalistic approach. And now I'm doing 2 pieces of research before every show and producing graphs to support it. So, and those pieces of research I did are actually on my Substack. So the things that we can do is lean more into journalism. And that's what we are going to provide for you. But we still want to remain the pundit, right? We still want to remain anyway. So I can't respond to that, Clown World, because yes, sure, we want to say if we don't trust nothing, then what can we trust? You have to pick something, right? And so I've done my best to find information that is factual. Anyway, support each other, support your families, strengthen what you can, and find a way to make yourself resilient so that when you come out on the other side of whatever this is, you will survive and you will still be strong. And I think that's the best way forward.
Go ahead, Andre.
Well, Clown Word, I can say, for example, financial crisis. Yes, we are, and it is not a joke for how many people go to food banks. 2 million people in Canada monthly, over a population of 41 million people. Then she's right. It's a question of trust. Tim mentioned something with his statistics. The audience or people are trapped. They're trapped in a media, whether it is mainstream media, whether it is social media. They're trapped. I advise always people to diversify your source of information. Whether you follow or you watch mainstream media, you have to be able to get out of what I call the democratic labyrinth. You're stuck in a way of life, and get out of it. It's quite difficult because there's many people, they don't read. They just read the title, or they jump to conclusion, and it's very hard to rebuild the trust. That's what we're trying to do. I don't say we succeed all the time, but the idea, if some people follow us or are listening to us, they can challenge us too. That's how you gain trust. You challenge somebody, the person is honest enough to say, okay, I'm sorry, I was wrong, or I disagree with you, or you're right. And then you create a structure of debate, and then trust, you can build it slowly, but it will take maybe 20 years. And where we will be in 20 years, maybe me, I will be dead. The idea is we have to do it. It's our duty. We don't have the choice.
We got a comment question from Wolf. It's time to circle the wagons in incorporated farming PMAs with swaths of contiguous land settlements and an Amish-like return to community. Local. I'll share a quick story. When I was young, I went to Turkey, and I still remember just the dirty apartment building that we were staying in. Like, the toilets wouldn't work. You got to get this big bucket of water, and you got to manually simulate the flush. There's cockroaches and rats everywhere. People have just such a cushy lifestyle. It's not just access to Starbucks within walking distance. It's the lack of mosquitoes, the lack of dangerous animals, the lack of a swamp nearby, sewage, all of this stuff. It's almost it's on purpose to make it impossible for people to leave the urban centers. Tim.
And that's by design, right? That's by design. Let's look at it from a political perspective. You will find that within cities, the bulk of the population tends to be more liberal minded, right? More hive minded and more reliant on infrastructure and government services for their day-to-day requirements. But then the further you move out into more rural areas, you'll find out that the individual is, I say politically, but I mean character-wise, is more conservative minded, more independent, and less reliant, even to the point of refusing, right, government service and acting as a collective individual. So part of this is pushed upon the population by thinking that they are more likely to find success in the cities. And then once it's the rat utopia, right? What happened after the First World War with the collapse of the American breadbasket? They started looking for jobs in the cities, right? And so we've created this type of a scenario, and the solution is, it's not so much to get out of the city. I think that will be a natural effect, but the solution is to become self-reliant. And that's where we need to go next as individuals and as families.
Go ahead.
Well, if I can talk about my personal experience, 2008, I leave Montreal. I go north of Quebec. I buy an old house. Nice. No sewage, no septic tank, collective well. We miss water for 3 months. Water in my basement. It was March 2011, 11 March 2000. That was the tsunami in Japan. I have 2 feet of water in my basement. And I look at the litter box of my cat floating. And when I went, because I rented the pump, and I go on the internet and I see the flood, the tsunami in Japan, and I said, shit, the water in my basement's not that bad. I had so bad experience since 17 years that I'm ready. No electricity, no water, no toilet. So this time was hard for me. It strengthened me. So I expect people, I don't wish them to have problem, but they have to also understand that the state of the country now, it looks nice on paper, but when you look in reality, the structure of the system is completely hijacked, not only by evil. People are incompetent. They're just incompetent. You ask now, I see more and more posted on Facebook of millennials buying a house if they can, and they say, what do? I have water in my basement. I have a problem with electricity. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to, first of all, they will learn. The other thing, I will just end on this, the quote of the comment of Wolf, it's time to circle wagon. Payment, bring the quote of Thomas Paine. I like this one because I think it is very, I would say, appropriate in a way that
Thomas who?
Thomas Paine.
You mean Thomas Malloche?
No. Come on. We shall have no real hope to survive the enemies errant against us until we hang the traitors lurking among us. So circling around, like Tim mentioned, locally having association, people who you rely on, we refer to trust. You rely on them, help them. They need you, go. Don't ask yourself, do I have the time? Is it the proper time? You just do it. You don't ask. You don't say yes. You don't say no. You just do it. And then you say, don't pay me. Don't pay me. You owe me something. That's trust. That's what we have to rebuild. And we cannot count on the government. Anyway, the government it's us. It's us. Localism, subsidiarity, helping each other, trying to rebuild the trust. That's a hard task.
Okay, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna read a whole bunch of these out, and then you guys can respond to whichever one you like. Clown World says, Andre, you know it. Country life, you learn. She also says, we live deep in the country. You learn tons of survival skills that way. Wolf says, note that in the early days of rural to city movement, there was a sound money system, no longer. The difference is not only invisible to typical citizens, it's studiously ignored by the powers that be. We've been severed from authentic wealth building by the monetary system itself. We've been severed from authentic wealth building by the monetary system itself, fraudulent money, fraudulent courts, fraudulent metaphysics. What else do we got? Sue Kellen Dyer, money laundering is a new government department. Deputy Minister of Washing and Deputy Minister of Drying. She also says, "You're doing great, Andre. Better than the other two in French." Yeah, laugh it up. Somewhat sad, extremely sad. Peggy says, "A woman down the road from me took MAID last week." I'm sorry to hear that, Peggy. The Remanded says, "It's not just federal bills either. Administrative production orders for misinformation policy coming to a province near you." Clown World says, "It's important to remember that Harper signed us up to Agenda 2030. The root problem is mass immigration. Think about it. It's affecting everything." Yes. Payment fighting fruit flies. Yeah, the struggle is real. And finally, this is the one I'll respond to. "I've been surviving outside by remembering my grade 5 and 6 Canadian education." I thought about this just yesterday. I remember a point, grades 3, 4, 5, when they taught me in school, I was in Canada at the time, here's the local vegetation you can eat. Here's the vegetation you can't eat. Honestly, that's like the most important, that's the only important thing I learned from the entire public education system. Everything else you can pick up with podcasts online. Just tell the kids, teach them how to function on their own. Everything else, it will fall in place. Go ahead, Tim.
When I was 9, my father was working at the pulp and paper mill in a town about 20 miles away. And every time they went on strike, he was the first one off because, last on, first off. And that was difficult. And during that time, my mother was a stay-at-home woman. So 9, I would have been 1977. And we lived in a small house on the bay on the north of Newfoundland. And the house we lived in when I was 9 had no running water. I was 9 years old, getting a sponge bath by my mother in the kitchen sink. We had to go to there was a public well at the end of town, and we would load up 20-liter pails, my dad and me and my sister, about a year and a half younger than me. And this was our life. This was our life. He finally got a coal stove that put into the living room, and we would get loads of coal. And so at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm out loading up a wheelbarrow full of coal, and I'm 9 years old. And I'm not bragging about it. I'm saying you do what needs to be done to get things to happen. The house was so poorly built that the slats, Dad used to joke that when the wind blew, the slats opened up and you could see the birds shivering outside, right? That you learn to do what you need to do, right? I learned to hunt at 9, right? My father's 12 gauge, snaring rabbits, etc. I skinned my first rabbit when I was 8 years old, right? So you learn to do these things. Yes, we would heat a junk, what called a junk of wood, right? Like an 18-inch block of cut of wood, about 8 inches thick or whatever, and heat it up in the wood oil stove. And then when it was all heated up, you would take and wrap it in a towel and then put it at the feet of your bed underneath yes, it got so cold in the wintertime, we got dressed for school under the covers of bed because it was so cold. Yes. And the thing is, that's what you have to do to be free, then you have to do it, right? It's
Tim.
not that children were helpful. Trust me, there's a lot of things I didn't want to do that I had to do, and there was a good whipping if I didn't do it in the appropriate manner, right? But this is what needs to be done, right? This is what needs to be done. Right? Well, I grew up in Newfoundland in the 70s and 80s, and Newfoundland prior to the internet was effectively one generation older or behind the rest of the continent. Right? That situation has changed now, but back then, the stories that I tell other guys and girls in my age group, they don't know what I'm talking about because Newfoundland was might as well have been another planet. Right?
So okay, now I understand. I'm older than you, but maybe not that old. There's a comment that you could bring about the ice storm from Clown World, because I like this comment.
This one?
Yes, in the ice storm of 98, we were out of power for 21 days. No heat, no running water, no sump pump. Sister-in-law, Urbanite, was out of power for 30 minutes. Called us crying on the phone. Yes, I remember. And it was, you know, it's no electricity, no energy, no progress. Nothing works. Me, I'm ready here because we have stove, we have a fireplace, we have wood. I have 15 cords of wood this year, and I think it will not be enough. You can imagine this. This is completely and there's no electricity, no sump pump, no water, no toilet, no bathroom. Thank God now I have propane gas, but they want to ban this in Quebec. We are in a state of there are two different worlds. Tim mentioned something. Urban people, they're completely disconnected from reality. But strangely, now in Montreal, which is a 1.5 million city people, now they're starting to experience power outage in a big city. Oh, this is not very funny because Montreal is practically all liberal, and outside of Montreal, it's the bloc. So it's quite funny. Oh, she was pregnant at the time. You can imagine that. I think your baby will be a strong man or strong women today. But it's true. We have to experience not suffering, but hard time, so we can at least understand where we are and when we're alive.
Sorry, there's a couple
I
more.
have to. Sorry, I don't mean to cut in. I do mean to cut in. Sue is challenging me to provide accurate MAID numbers, and she's right to do so. That's fair. So what I found is Quebec really likes doing it because they've killed 5,700 people last year using MAID. BC is pretty close. It says 3,000 estimated because BC can't be trusted to give an honest number. Ontario 4,300, Alberta 1,100, and then the rest are in the lower hundreds. So that brings us to around the best 2024 numbers around, what's that, 13, 17, 15,000, somewhere in that number. Okay, so not 80,000. Maybe 80,000 is the total since its inception in 2020, basically. But so I can admit when I'm wrong. Maybe 80,000 sounds like a like me inflating the numbers. What I'm trying to say is it's the sixth highest cause of death in Canada is suicide by government.
It is
homicide by government.
Well, we can play on words, of course, but I think he's right. And but when you push people to despair when they're vulnerable, you can take advantage of this. This is why we see that the government is not helping us at all. It's the contrary. Some of the comments about no electricity, or it's quite interesting to see how people can survive. We are strong. Yeah. And you know what? We're rich in Canada. It's not about the debt. We are rich. They just don't want us to work. They don't want. Now there's a lot of bankruptcy in Quebec. It's skyrocketing. And what did they do for 2 years? They forbid people to have their small businesses. Now they go bankrupt. That was the goal. And we have to stand up toward in facing this.
I just want to make one comment. The audience, they got really engaged and excited when we talked about living off the land. I thought people would be like, what are these three idiots talking about? Oh, like the comments blew up over this.
And Andre mentioned a very interesting point, and that is Canada being insanely resource rich. How resource rich do people feel when they move away from the city and they're on their own piece of property? Right? You don't have to call town hall and say, hey, am I allowed to put a new wax ring on my toilet bowl? You just go do it. Right? I've got deadwood, right? I've got deadwood on my property near my power line, and I'm going to use it and make cordwood for my fire. Do I need to call the local government to do it? No, I don't. Right.
Well, the tendency of many people, and I can tell you, I live in a small village in a small city, and I have a 200-year-old house. And when I wanted to redo the roof, I took a British Columbia company, which is metal roof. Roof cost $60,000. And I struggled with the city because they didn't want to permit me to have the gray color. And I said, okay, give me all the law and I will comply. They could not. They could not. And it is funny because there's a lot of my neighbors, they always ask permission. For what? For what? What next? Ask permission to go to the bathroom? So that's where, this is where we're in. This is the state of Canada now.
This comment right here, surviving in harsh conditions is Canada. There you go. That should be the answer for
Yes.
what it means to be
Yes.
Canadian.
Me, I'm ready.
If it's not the
Get
element,
ready.
the BC NDP government, something will kill you.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the maple leaf, the Hudson Bay Company blanket would have been a perfect flag. That's Canada, right? It's what the most value is, a blanket, right? That's it. And so yes, surviving in harsh conditions is Canada. And in our effort to be American and to adopt a global equatorial approach, we've forgotten that we are a hardy people, right? We are made for tougher stuff.
I just bring the comment of Clown World. We'll do plumbing for 30 seconds. What the heck is a wax ring? A wax ring is a ring that you put. So when you flush your toilet, water goes in the sewage. And most people, they don't even know how to install that. So just for your information, I did it.
All right, there's your plumbing lesson for today. We got one more comment question, and this one's for you, Andre. Andre, tell us about the kittens at the end of the cast.
The kittens, now they're growing. They're starting to be small monster. I did a cat tree with a big tree that I cut, and I didn't ask the permission to the city. I did so, and they're adorable, but they're crazy. 2 months now.
There you go, Wolf. We endeavor to get to every question, no matter how long it takes. All right. Well, I think we had a good episode. We got 500 viewers, so we reached to 500 people. We covered some good topics, and we ended it in a little bit more of a positive tone than we started it. I guess any final comments, or should we end it? Anything you guys want to add?
Keep up the good faith. We're there to support and fight with you.
Like, share, subscribe, all the things. Notice we're not asking you for money, so give us something, and that's called telling other people about it. That's pretty fair. So yeah.
Great.
And
great
if all we deliver is garbage, then sure, tune in and go watch somebody else. That's fine, right? Because it should be merit based, and we hope that we provide something either conversationally or actually a quasi journalistic approach, something that's useful to you, and that you always have something useful to share with us, because we can go off on goat trails, and we oftentimes do it intentionally, knowing that the fourth wall is here, and we engage with you the same way as if you were sitting in a chair beside us. And that's the type of relationship that we want to foster moving forward. And we've been doing that reasonably consistently since the beginning, more than a year now. So those of you who've been with us from the beginning, thank you. And those who are new, thanks for joining. And press all the buttons, do all the things, hug your children, tell your wife she doesn't look fat in those pants.
Always a nice and gentle comment.
It's a good way to extend your life expectancy. All right, gentlemen, thank you, and a big thank you to the audience, and we'll see you hopefully next week. Bye.